public comment portion of the meeting to 1 hour. Now, I'm asking you this. I know there are several of you who have put in slips and they're here. Chances are I can't get to all of you within that 1 hour, but we stay in our seats right after the full legislature meeting to address to listen to the concerns of the rest who have not had an opportunity. So we have 1 hour, and I'm going to begin by saying to you, we have a 3-minute limit. I also would like you to understand that sometimes we're tempted to engage in a back and forth session with the legislators. That takes from that 1 hour. And I think in all fairness to you who have been sitting here for a while, that you would like to be heard. And not all of you are here for the same reason. And so I'm going to begin calling those who have put in their slips early enough and are not going to be speaking on the issue of the casino. So remember, we'd like to get to most of you within that 1 hour, and hopefully we will if you engage in the procedure that I have just laid out to you, and hopefully my colleagues on the dais will give you that opportunity to voice your concerns regarding the casino. And without any further ado, we have...
Presiding officer, I just want to inquire, during the public comment, the hour-long public comment, our speakers who are here, who took the time out to come here in the cold weather to speak on the casino issue, are they allowed to speak during the 1 hour period of public comment?
I said if we don't engage in a back and forth conversation with the individuals that have come here to voice their concerns regarding the casino, then we can get to a good portion of all of
So
it. If not, guess what? If not, I did say, after the 1 hour, we will go into the full legislature meeting and begin with the calendar, and then come back and listen to the rest of the individuals who choose to remain and voice their concerns. In the meantime, I'd like to begin, and the time is now...
Just to clarify, are you beginning with the casino speakers?
I'm beginning with whomever gave me the consider quotient, and they'll take, I'm sure they're not going to occupy too much of the time.
Okay, thank you very much, Presiding officer.
Well, what time is it?
1:45.
You got it. So at 2:45?
I will tell you.
Okay, thank you very much. Joanne Gordon.
Good afternoon. On January 20th, the New York State Division of Human Rights started protecting transgender people from harmful discrimination, and that includes transgender people in Nassau County. That was a good and moral thing to do, and it was long overdue. An anti-discrimination law is important because many people live in constant fear of losing their job because they were born with a birth variation called transgenderism. A birth variation, medical scientists say, is no different than red hair or left-handedness. Now it is time for this legislature to reaffirm their often publicly stated belief that Nassau County's Human Rights Commission will also clearly protect transgender people as the law does for race, religion, and all others. You need to conform to the state's ban on discrimination clearly by passing the Gender Clarification Amendment and end the doubt that transgender people have regarding local protection. And most important, local employers will know, local authorities will enforce the law. State laws are important because their protection reaches rural areas. However, a state law is dictated by people preaching morality in a distant city. A local law involves your neighbors, people you pass in the street, who squeeze their wagons past yours at the supermarket, telling you what is right and what is wrong. Nothing is more powerful than you, local people, reminding your constituents all harmful discrimination is wrong. A message from local people always has a great impact on local people and raises the moral message to a higher level. We need the power of your voice to your constituents, repeating it is morally wrong to discriminate against any of God's children. Pass the gender clarification law and send a needed, clear, and powerful message that harmful discrimination will not be tolerated in Nassau County.
John Kenny?
Hello, members of the legislature. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. I'm John Kenny from Marjorie Lane in East Rathaway. I live adjacent to the Bay Park sewage treatment plant, and there's a number of items I'd just like to touch base with you on and make you aware of. Obviously, in the paper, there was a recent decision on the part of the federal government not to fund the ocean outfall, which would make treatment to a level of removal of nitrogen more problematic, in that this decision not to allow an ocean outflow means that we're going to have to comply with an enhanced level of denitrification, removal of that particular element that will cause blooms of algae and other issues in our western bays. Now, you should realize that the local community in East Rockaway, Bay Park, Oceanside, we're all environmentalists who live by the water. You should also realize that there's untold economic loss from the continued minimal treatment of the effluent that goes into our western bays and directly into Reynolds Channel opposite the Magnolia Pier in Long Beach. Having said that, we as a local constituents and local citizens are also obviously concerned about the sewage treatment plant itself. And of course, over the years, the sewage treatment plant, which was put into our community and occupied a very small footprint, has moved beyond that boundary, and as each new federal mandate has come up, and each new federal mandate has dictated, for instance, no more ocean dumping, we had to facilitate within the footprint of the plant, the 40 acres, a dewatering facility, a large facility. We also had, back in 1992, became the host of an in-house generation plant, which was left to wither and never really ran very well. And pre-Hurricane Sandy, the in-house generators were not functioning, and they had to endure many months unnecessarily of auxiliary generators. Well, we're happy to report we went to a meeting with Deputy County Executive Rob Walker, Sheila Shore, the Commissioner of Public Works, and they are on board, and they had representatives from PSE&G, and they will in fact now be trying to facilitate the importation of power from power professionals, that's PSE&G, to the Bay Park facility in East Rockaway Bay Park, and that will allow the county to decommission those existing generators. That's a wonderful thing. We want to caution you. You should be aware that the DPW also told us at that meeting that they will now try to recapture and benefit from that methane that is a natural byproduct of the sewage treatment process. It's currently being flared off from a location internal into the plant. But what they would like to do is they would like to put in some type of a power generation facility to capture that bit of energy. They still need line power, a feeder cable coming in from PSE&G. When we heard this, we said, that's great, but we thought about it, we said, we have to be very careful. The county, when they, I'll just go on for another minute. The county said when they put in their initial generators that they would run, they were the most efficient, they never ran right. So now we're getting new generators. We also want to just call your attention to the E3 generation building, which they're siting right on Marjorie Lane, within 100 feet of the road. It's a 60-foot building, 150 by 150-foot brick footprint, with 5 diesel generators located on top. At the meeting with Rob Walker, the commissioner, we explained to them, hey, look, we got 530 feet, not to put it in somebody else's backyard, not to put it closer to another residence, but to site it back a little bit away from the road so it's not booming over our houses, so that when you have to start up these generators and run them, that they're not going to be impacting on us. They have to be run routinely, even if they're auxiliary, right? If there's a power outage, or they have to be tested. The county, as
Mr. Kenny,
always...
would you please wrap it up?
Okay, thank you. As always, what we want to say is, we're dealing with the aftermath of Sandy. We're dealing with the aftermath of all the improvements, the transient construction issues at the plant. We just ask your cooperation in terms of making sure that DPW does the right thing by us and make some accommodations for us so we can continue to host this plant that is going to hopefully do a better job for the county and all its residents. I thank you for your time. Thank you.
David Hosing?
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, legislators. My name is Colonel David Hughes of the United States Army, retired. I'd like to speak to you about the contracting problem in Nassau County. My suggestion to solve it is very easy. I'd like to see you adopt, word for word, the federal acquisition regulation which the United States government uses. It is a perfect thing. It's been in existence for 50 years. It will solve all your problems right away. I know that you had gentlemen like Robert Cattell, Stuart Rabinowitz, and Frank Czar talk to the county about it. However, they have never been United States government contracting officers. They have never held the allegiance and the oath of office as a government contracting officer, and they certainly haven't completed all the list of schools that's required before you can sign on the dotted line as a U.S. government contracting officer. So my suggestion to you is you don't have to research the law. You don't have to write the law. You don't have to do anything except immediately adopt the law, and therefore you will have a contracting process which will get you everything from a pencil to a satellite. And as they told us in one of the classes, and I'll make it very simple, most of you would say this is a pencil. However, it is really a writing instrument, graphite, wooden case, Septemberland shape, yellow, 6 inches long with a rubber end. If you research and development that, it will cost you $24,000. If you go to Staples, it will cost you $1. That's what the federal acquisition will regulate and mandate. Thank you for your attention.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the legislature. There's a lot of familiar faces here. I'm a blast from the past. I was, for anybody that doesn't remember, I was the vice president of the Correctional Officers Union for 10 years. 8 years, I was in the union for 10 years. Briefly the president up until about 4 years ago. I'm back. A lot of familiar faces, a lot of new faces up here. I apologize if I haven't touched base with you. We've had a heck of a transition in the last couple of weeks going in. I promise I will be in touch with every single one of you. I hope to meet with you individually. 1 or 2 of you I've met with, but I just wanted to formally introduce myself on the record. To my right is Patrick McDevitt. He's the first VP of the union. He's going to be the legislative liaison. He's going to be the burr under a lot of your saddles over here for most of the meetings, and I'll be the itch. He'll be the burr. Just to get going with a few things that I just wanted to touch base on, it's basically just an introduction. The after effects of the freeze, I don't think it was adequately conveyed to the public and to the legislature and the county just how the wage freeze affected our members. I had at least 15 of my members go bankrupt during the freeze. People that were low on the steps that had to work 3 and 4 and 5 other jobs. There's a lot of it that went into that. Didn't affect other employees of the county. Unfortunately, other members of the county also were laid off. A lot of people were hurting. A lot of people are still hurting. Right now, going into this my new term, we're on a honeymoon period with the county. We're getting along very well with everybody. Everything's wine and roses. I've had a couple of very productive meetings with the county executive, the deputy county executive, the sheriff. and I certainly hope to see that continue. I have hopes that it will continue. My new board that came in, our top priority is security of that correctional facility. Security, security, security of the inmates, and particularly as a union of my members. I want my guys to be safe. I want that to be a safe facility. And I certainly expect cooperation from the sheriff, the county executive, and the legislature to get just that done. There's been a lot of cuts over the last 4 or 5 years. I joked with the sheriff that it's time to put his red pen away. We need to run a facility. I understand that the place has been cut. But we still have a lot of issues. We have weapons in the facility. We have that K2 synthetic marijuana in the facility. I want, of course, you know, the bottom issue is money. I want the tools. I want metal detectors. I want shakedowns. I want searches. There's, you know, it's going to need attention. And unfortunately, to run a facility like that, a county jail is like the county's boat. It's a hole in the ground you pour money into. It would be nice to get inmates in there that would, you know, from other jurisdictions that would pay us for the head count. I'd be all for that to help offset the costs of anything, but we need to pay attention to security here. I mean, you've seen all the things in the newspapers, Rikers Island, things like that. I'm sure everybody remembers me here. It's the same inmates that come back and forth. There's a lot of city inmates here that come out, and you see the slashings and everything else in the city, and there are slashings of inmates out here. If one of my officers gets slashed, you're going to hear me screaming from the rooftops that we need to get, you know, tighter on the security.
Your 3 minutes have expired, sir.
I'm going to wrap it right up. A lot of other issues that we have, I'm hoping to get cooperation on. The legislative forward, we worked in the past about getting body alarms done. Vests, training is of utmost importance. There's a couple of other sensitive issues I spoke to the county executive about that I hope to, I'm not going to speak about here because they're sensitive issues. I just want to get the attention done. Basically, you know, with the freeze, with the financial issues that have gone on in the county, I understand we got to count beans. We've said that. I've stood at this legislature in front of Mr. Schmidt several times and legislatures in the past. We understand we got to count beans, but there's also a human element that goes along with this. There's safety of the community, there's safety of the inmates, and my utmost concern is the safety of our officers at that correctional facility. We just need the tools. If you give us the tools, we'll do the job and the attention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Mr.
very much.
Sullivan. Okay, Kevin McCaffrey. I just want, before we get into the concerns of the communities regarding Belmont and the VLTs, and I would like to address the issue as VLTs and not casino. And Mr. McCaffrey.
Thank you, Presiding Officer and legislators. My name is Kevin McCaffrey. I'm here as a member of Teamsters Local 707, speaking on behalf of the hardworking men and women of OTP who are represented by Teamsters Local 707 and who will be working at the proposed VLT facility at Belmont. I stand here in opposition to the resolution calling for removal of any OTP directors who are not willing to come out publicly and make a commitment not to support the placement of a temporary or permanent facility for VLTs at Belmont or anywhere in Nassau County. But I do stand here in support of good paying jobs with medical and pension benefits for the current and future members of Teamsters Local 707 who will be working at the VLT facility. And I'm hopeful that these future jobs will also be made available on a priority basis to the residents of Elmont and Floral Park as well. This is not just about jobs for any members, it's about good paying construction jobs for the building trades members, many who live in the surrounding community. There's more jobs created by local businesses who will benefit from the increased economic expansion in the communities surrounding Belmont. It's also about the increased revenue to the county to support more services to the surrounding communities and additional revenues to share into the host communities of Belmont and Floral Park. And we just stood up here and heard many of the challenges that the county faces in community and public safety, such as the police, and also, as we just heard, from our corrections officers. And as a Suffolk County legislator, I know full well the impact of the necessary for increased revenue to support the services in these times. People will speak of the evils of gambling, but the facts of the matter is gambling will go on regardless of the placement of VLTs at Belmont. Less than 10 miles away at Aqueduct, the most successful VLT operation is in effect right now. It is revenue that would have gone to New Jersey, Pennsylvania, or Connecticut. Gambling is all around us, whether we want to admit it or not. You stand in line at the stationery store, the Powerball fever almost took over Long Island. You see the millions and millions of dollars that are going to DraftKings and FanDuel right now in those operations. And who among us doesn't take a chance with a Super Bowl pool, just to keep it interesting? And yes, currently at Belmont, and for the last 148 years, gambling has been occurring at that very location. These VLTs are projected to generate $10 to $20 million for Nassau County, $72 million to the state for school funding, and over 300 good-paying permanent jobs, something every community could use. Last year, as a Suffolk County legislator, a similar bill was brought before us in opposition to the Medford VLT facility. I will say again, as I said last year, I believe the adverse impact on the community is overstated in terms of traffic, and also the other effects are being blown out of proportion. I believe at the end of the day, this will only be a positive for these communities, but even so, if I wasn't completely convinced and I had a decision to make, rest assured I'll always err on the side of creating good paying jobs and economic development for these communities. I ask you to do the same. I urge you to do what we did in Suffolk County last year and vote against this resolution. Thank you for your time.
Listen, Bill's going to interject here for a minute. I know how this issue is playing on the communities of Belmont and Floral Park. But we're here to listen to your concerns, and I want you to know that we understand your concerns. The process has not begun. The process begins really when the site is defined as the site. And according to our state law, an environmental impact study has to be done. And that impact study does include some of the concerns that you're going to raise here today. I come from a very community leader, community civic activist base, and I have to tell you, there were many facilities in my district that were very adverse to the residents of my communities. So I know why it is important to listen to you, to address, to hear your concerns, so that they will be addressed in whatever follows. The process has not begun as of yet. It begins with the state environmental impact study. Now, by the way, this does not, my comments subtract a few minutes from yes, I'm serious. I look at the clock too. So please, give respect to one another. You don't all have to agree, but you all really should be listening to one another. And that's what I'm asking you to do today. And I'm going to begin with Laura Barone, who I believe is part of the Floral Park. And remember what I said, be respectful.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Laura Ferroni. I come here as president of the Floral Park Belrose School District Board of Education and as a trustee on the Sewanee Central High School District Board of Education. More importantly, I come here on behalf of the 930 elementary students, grades pre-K through 6, who attend the Floral Park Belrose School, as well as the 1,500 students, grades 7 through 12, who attend Floral Park Memorial High School. I'm here to publicly state our strong opposition to the proposed BLT casino that is being contemplated being placed at Belmont Park. For those of you not familiar, the Floral Park Belrose Elementary School is located adjacent to the Belmont property, half a mile from the grandstand and separated by 1,137 feet of chain link fencing. The grandstand is clearly visible from the school, literally within walking distance. We have grave concerns about the safety and welfare of our students should this proposal become a reality. Statistics demonstrate that casinos increase crime, and much of that crime often occurs outside the casino in the parking lot. We are concerned about what our students may witness should this come to fruition. There are up to 300 children at a time playing at lunch, recess, and physical education during a given school day. Our play structure lies within 8 feet of the fence. On weekends, there can be up to 1,000 children playing soccer and utilizing our school fields. We have many safety concerns about any activity that takes place on the opposite side of that fence. Floral Park Memorial High School is located across the street from the Plainfield Avenue entrance to Belmont Park, known as Gate 8. This entrance is a direct route to the grandstand, just 0.6 miles from our school. Unlike many rumors that the gate is traditionally closed, I've lived in Floral Park for 27 years. It is open on a regular basis. Last week, I drove there myself, and it took me under a minute and a half, door to door, from the high school to the grandstand, going the Belmont speed limit. We are an open campus for seniors, and surely must agree that high school students and young adults should not be able to drive to a casino in under a minute and a half. I hate to think that our young, impressionable students could conceivably go to gamble during their lunch period. Again, this VLT casino proposal is too close a proximity to our school. With regard to the proposed site, Belmont Park is the 4th proposed site to date. Prior sites, as you are all aware, include Plainview Raceway, the Nassau Coliseum, and the Westbury Fortunoff site. All were fiercely rejected by residents in each of those neighborhoods. The Coliseum was particularly rejected by the Hofstra University because of the negative impact that such a venue would create around impressionable students. We agree completely. Our schools are in closer proximity to Belmont than Hofstra University is to the Coliseum. We have heard the rhetoric that gambling is gambling, and that Belmont is a perfect location because there is already wagering there.
Your 3 minutes have expired, ma'am.
I'm almost done. I have, as a nurse, I have another analogy. Advil and morphine are both pain medications, yet they both have very different side effects and very different long-lasting implications. I urge all of you to educate yourself about the real differences between VLT as a form of gambling. Its analgesic nature, virtual round-the-clock access, and speed at which one can bet, more often 10 times or more per minute, is a recipe for addiction, and I hate to think that close proximity to a high school would only spell disaster. In addition, residents throughout the county are voicing concerns, and maybe we need to change the conversation about how we can work better together to find real, long-term, positive solutions for Nassau County. Our community and our children are worth more than $20 million needed to close the budget deficit. With regard to the anticipated revenue from this venture, I ask each of you to read New York State Comptroller's report on gaming from May 2014. Tom DiNapoli clearly states that at this point it is difficult to quantify new state revenue from new casinos due to market saturation, close proximities of casinos to one another, and shifting revenue. Aqueduct World Resorts, I remind you, is only 10 miles from Belmont. Why would we gamble with our children? Why would we gamble with our communities? Especially in light of our own state controller's report. I urge you to read it. I clearly understand the county's fiscal needs and challenges. School districts have faced many of these challenges, and yet school districts across Nassau County have made it work. I leave you with 4 lines of advice from the West Point Cadets Prayer. Choose the harder right instead of the easier wrong, and never settle for a half-truth when the whole truth can be found. Let us come together, let us choose the harder right, and find better solutions, long-term positive solutions for our county instead of a quick buck in a slot machine. Let us take the time to vet the real facts about the real risks and the real revenue. Let's demand that OTB provide real information instead of half-truths, pipe dreams, and fantasies about what this type of venue will really bring to a community. I thank you for listening. I invite you all to please come, visit our district where we can better show you our concerns. I look forward to changing the dialogue and working together for a better Nassau County, one that I know we can be. Thank you very much.
Is there an Allison McCartney here? Okay, let's go. Try to stay with the 3-minute limit because it's still going to be 1 hour. So please, try to stay within the 3-minute limit. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Allison McCarthy, and this is Erin McCarthy. We live right next door to Floral Park Memorial High School, which you just heard about, across the street from the Belmont Gate. And Erin, when she grows up, will be going to Floral Park Belrose School. We live on Plainfield Avenue, which will be negatively impacted by the VLT casino. We urge you we urge you to vote against this VLT gaming parlor. The traffic that comes through Belmont, through Plainfield, is already very high. With this gaming parlor right across the street from our town, from our home, it's going to be so much worse. Erin will have to cross Plainfield Avenue in order to get to school. If you have this VLT gaming parlor open 24/7, the traffic is going to be much worse. You could have people coming out of the gaming parlor at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., intoxicated, and it could cause a lot of trouble for the children that are crossing the street to go to either Floral Park Belrose School or to the high school. We have a lot of children walk past our house to go to the high school. A lot of children have to cross Plainfield Avenue in order to go to the elementary school. And it's really the traffic disaster that would be caused by this gaming parlor would really negatively impact our town. My husband and I work very hard in order to live in Floral Park. I work full-time. I took off of work today to come and speak out against this gaming parlor. And it means a lot to us to keep Floral Park a nice, safe town. And this gaming parlor would change all of that. Floral Park is a wonderful place to live. I grew up in Floral Park, and now I recently bought a house there. And as I mentioned, my husband and I work very hard to live in this wonderful town. And we urge you not to put a casino in our backyard. Please don't gamble with our future, the future of our children, and the safety of our town.
Well,
Thank you for this opportunity. I'll be brief. The process, as we all know, was not open and transparent, and there was no input from the community. What I'd like to ask this great body of ladies and gentlemen to do is take a good hard look at your OTB board, the officers and directors. I was able to find out that there was a $5 million loan taken last year, obviously to keep it solvent. So please, you have a fiduciary responsibility to take a look at who's serving on that board, because any organization that loses that kind of money, you want to gamble and make it $20 million, you need to take a look at who's going to be in charge. Thank you.
I don't know, is it Richard? Is it Brewery? Is that correct?
My
But
husband
if
does
it's not correct, please correct me.
It's Gronley. My
I know,
husband,
it looks like GR, or is it,
O-N-L-I-E?
it's 163 Crocus Avenue. Please correct me.
Yes.
Uh,
My husband doesn't feel like he can speak. May I go off?
Pardon, I didn't hear you.
My husband is unable to speak. He doesn't feel well. I'd like to take his place.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
You're in his place.
I'm in
So
his
you are
place.
now Richard.
I am now Richard.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fine. And but please tell us your name when you get up there.
I will, thank you. Need some notes while I was leaving, and thank you.
And your name is?
Loretta Gronley.
Oh, it's Gronley. Okay.
Gronley, yes.
Okay, so G-R-O-N.
L-I-E.
Okay, got it. Okay. Thank you.
We chose Nassau County as a place to live and raise our children for its way of life. We pay very heavily in taxes to live here. We balance our budgets in order to pay all of our taxes and keep our home going. We ask that the county do the same. BLTs and casino at Belmont are ill-conceived, deleterious, and without conscience. Agreeing with this stance are our chambers of commerce, homeschool associations, PTAs, village governments, civics, clergy. There are many businesses with no casino signs in their windows. Basically, our police leadership has cited the additional crime, traffic, and rescue facilities that will be drained. Across and adjacent from our schools, this is a very dangerous, ill-conceived notion. Las Vegas was not built on winners. We're not going to have winners here. We're going to have people drawn to a very addictive habit. Westbury, Plainview, Nassau Coliseum, and our sister Medford. None of us want casino. It is time to introduce legislation prohibiting their erection in our communities. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the legislature. Happy New Year. I'd just like to address a couple of issues. We've seen, how many times did we bail out Belmont? Neither. $80 million, I think. Wall Street, banks. Okay, so now they're talking about OTP. We know the problems. But ironically, what's coming out of the news lately, we see the Speaker of the Assembly, Hasey's connection to Genting. We see, I did some checking on Carrie. I just want to tell you something. He served as the recording secretary of the coalition of I was chairman for sustainable development, and we will work with the Shinnecock Indians and Michael Melk from Detroit to build a full-fledged casino at Belmont Racetrack. And no time was he in opposition. Now all of a sudden he's opposition. And if you check his campaign contribution, there's a company called LLC Raceway. One of the guys who bid on Belmont Racetrack, Stephen Krager, who's generously donated to carrying this system. So again, the hypocrisy is ridiculous. Also, the hypocrisy of the school board president. Here is a picture of the Floral Park School. I know Mr. Garella's family has gone to Sewanee, so has my family. For 2,000 people protest in an auditorium that fits 300. Kids were there and all. Fire codes broken, school laws broken. When they allowed a civic president, to ask for a donation for lawn signs. Clearly, I don't pay taxes for my schools to be used in this manner. They never were. They just set a precedent, Mr. Muscarell. If you ever want to have a rally at Sewanee Central High School, by all means go there. They can't stop you no longer. This hypocrisy about gambling. I see no gambling. No gambling. Did anyone tell these people that gambling goes on at Belmont Racetrack? When people go there to bet on horses, it's gambling. When people go to grocery stores, gas stations, convenience stores to buy a lottery ticket or bet numbers, it's gambling. When I go to Floral Park to bet a Super Bowl pool illegally, it's gambling. People gambling. She talks about addiction. The #1 addiction on Long Island in every state right now is heroin. It's not gambling. We need revenue. This is Local 707 here. We want jobs. The trade unions want jobs. Belmont Racetrack cannot operate 90 days a year. It's unconscionable. And at the track in Queens, which it seems like Mr. Carrier and his sister are supporting the revenue of Queens, they did $1 billion since the inception. So the $200 million is really a lowball figure, and the schools can use the revenue, and GYO can use the revenue, and Nassau County taxpayers can use jobs and revenue. This is nonsense. People gamble. People are addicted to a lot of things. Food, alcohol, tobacco. I go to casinos, and I don't see any problem there. And recently, I was just in Atlantic City, the Tropicana. Across the street from the Tropicana, the daycare center. Next to the Tropicana is a public school and a parochial school. Next, attached to Caesars, is a hospital. In Queens, the high school was there before the casino came, and no problems. Now all of a sudden, they're talking about problems. Commissioner Crumpton said it best. There will be no increase in crime. And I respect Commissioner Crumpton and Nassau County Police Department. They said there were no, and you know why? Because we have the finest police department in the world, and second, casinos have the best security in the world. We want jobs, we want revenue, and you heard the officer who came up here complaining that they want revenue too. If they don't want to raise taxes, except Mr. Carey had no problem raising his salary, then where are we going to get the revenue? Every day, people from Nassau County leave this area to go to other counties and other states to gamble millions. We lose $1 billion a year illegally, and 4 Borough Park's part of it, who people bet on the Super Bowl and football game. The time is now. This is crazy. It's a racetrack where people gamble, and people gamble. Look at this, look at this. They're so concerned about their children. 2,000 people in an auditorium that fits $300. 300 kids. I'm going to school board and demanding both the president of the school board and Laura step up. This is unconscionable. They're so concerned about the students. Thank you.
That's your guy. That's your guy. That's your guy right there. That's your guy. That's what you're looking at. Loser.
John Tweedy.
Good afternoon, members of the legislature. My name is John Tweedy, and I'm a trustee in the Incorporated Village of Belrose. I would just like to let you know that Belrose has recently passed a resolution, and it goes like this. Whereas the Incorporated Village of Belrose has been a neighboring community of Belmont Park, and along with the adjacent village of Floral Park has enjoyed a peaceful neighborly relationship with Belmont Park for over 90 years. And whereas the village has supported and continues to support the continuation of Belmont Park as one of the world's premier thoroughbred horse facilities, and whereas, however, on the issue of a video lottery terminal, VLT slot machine casino at Belmont Park, the village hereby expresses its opposition. And whereas the residents of the village of Belrose pay close attention to its local civic matters, particularly to those involving the education of our children, and whereas the children of the residents of Belrose Village attend the Floral Park Belrose Elementary School, which borders the proposed site for a VLT slot machine casino, and whereas by resolution unanimously adopted on December 14, 2015, the Floral Park Belrose School Board expressed its position that the placement of a VLT slot machine casino at Belmont would irreparably damage our communities, our quality of life, our children, and future generations. And whereas the children of the residents of the village also attend Floral Park Memorial High School, which is located across the street from an entrance to Belmont Park. And whereas we believe that a VLT slot machine casino at Belmont Park would have significant and harmful long-term effects on the quality of life in Belrose Village and adjacent communities, and would irreparably damage our communities, our quality of life, our children, and future generations, now therefore be it resolved that the Belrose Village Board of Trustees requests our elected officials to oppose any project which would involve a proposed site for a VLT slot machine casino at Belmont Park. And we urge our constituents, their families, friends, and neighbors to write to their elected officials, asking them to publicly state their strong and unbending opposition to a proposed site for a VLT slot machine casino in any form at Belmont Park. And we join in and support the position of the Incorporated Village of Floral Park and the Floral Park Belrose School of Education, the Belrose Board of Education, and will forward a copy of this resolution to elected officials and request that they oppose any such casino through public statements and through their votes to defeat any such proposal that comes before them. On motion by Trustee Tweedy, seconded by Mayor Schreiber, the resolution was adopted unanimously by Belrose Village.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to speak in front of this legislature today. I'm here to speak about the lottery terminals. I'm with the Nassau Suffolk Builder Trades. I represent 59,000 workers, many of whom live here in Nassau County. I went out of my way to talk to numerous people that belong to our builder trades, and there wasn't too many negatives on their conversations. What they're sick and tired of is the taxes that we pay and the utilities that we pay. The lack of opportunities that are existing now. We have at a rate of 30% of our 19 and 30-year-olds leaving Long Island. I want to know who's going to be putting out your fires and doing your snow plowing and things of nature taken care of, and coaching your kids, amongst the many other things, your volunteer work in different organizations, if we continue on this pace. We have out-of-town workers that are eating up a lot of our people that should have these jobs, that are coming from at least a dozen states and Mount Canada to do the work, especially in our IDAs. So that's part of the catalyst that's allowing these people to have to move to North Carolina, different places like that, so they can make a halfway decent living. There's a statistic out there that 61% of America, not Nassau County or Suffolk County, 61% of America, if their car breaks down and they have a $500 car repair bill, they can't afford it. So that's a disgrace, and that's because we can't have jobs and a lot of people, and people don't give the jobs to the people that deserve it. In New York, it's another statistic. Living on Long Island costs 50% more than any other place in the country, and yet the wages are only 10% more, and then we have people competing for our jobs. We are at 100% support of the lottery terminals because the venue was already existing, and it's been there, as the gentleman said earlier, 148 years, and I hear about crime and this and that and back and forth. As you witnessed here before with that retiring gentleman, we got the best of the best police department in Long Island, the state, anywhere else. So they're more than capable of taking care of business should any arise, but I don't know where this crime business is coming from. So the cost of living here is way out of control. We have 300 permanent jobs that I'm told that this will allow, and hundreds of other construction jobs. So I would respectfully request that you vote for this. It's a matter of conscience, and you'll vote for your constituents too, by the way. So remember, thousands of families. I'm not here for half a dozen people. I'm here for thousands of families that want to raise their people here, love it here. A lot of them live in Floral Park and everywhere else. And they want to be able to make a living. That's what they're scared to death of. As things like this happen, and as well as Belmont. We'll get into that the next meeting. But the whole idea is that I'm asking this for the thousands and thousands of families that are going to benefit from this to please support it. Thank you.
Abigail Murphy.
Good afternoon. My name is T. Abigail Murphy. I am an Episcopal priest serving St. Elizabeth's in Floral Park and St. Thomas's in Belrose Village. Not seeing any of my brothers who are members of the Ecumenical Council of Floral Park. I believe that I can also speak for them as well because they have expressed similar concerns. You've heard many of the things that I would already say, and so I will keep this brief. But we often hear of people saying, we want family values, we want safety for our youth, we want good programming for our youth. And the fact of the matter is that if we have a casino in our area, and in fact anywhere near us, I believe, we will be having very poor sort of example set for our young people. We know that having gambling amounts to a tax on the poor because they simply are looking for whatever way they can to make ends meet. And they all think, not all, but the ones that gamble and that get into this as an addiction believe that somehow they're going to win. Typically, they do not. And so those who can least afford it are out there spending what little money they could to help their families. In addition, we have intoxication. I saw that on the list over here: crime, addiction, safety, intoxication, noise, all of these things. And our young people are exposed to it. They're going to be exposed to it. There's no choice about that. We already have an underage drinking problem. I can say this for a fact in both of the villages that I serve because I see it happening. I see it happening. And we already have problems with other minor breakings of the law. If they see this going on, they're going to follow suit, and they're going to find that they can get away with it because it's small business. So I urge you to not even consider allowing a casino in our area. Thank you.
Let me see. Contarelli is adjourned. Contarelli? Contarelli. 72 Elm. Laura Park? No? Okay. Margaret Ricketts?
I yield my time to Christy Flood.
Pardon?
I yield my time to Kristen Flood.
Well, she's on the list here
She
somewhere.
is? Okay. Then I yield my time to Terry Paterno.
And what's your name?
Then I yield my time to Terry
What
Paterno.
is your name?
My name is Margaret Weichert.
Okay.
Thank
You're
you.
yielding it to?
Terry Paterno.
Okay.
Thank you.
You still get 3 minutes, that's it.
I understand.
Hi again, I'm back. I've had a little practice since the last time I was here. I actually spoke at the rally. You know, I'm president of the Wednesday Mothers Club. I signed up for bagels, the occasional craft on a Wednesday. This has really become quite the endeavor for Floral Park and our moms. One of the things I wanted to talk about was the overall response we've gotten in Floral Park. And there has been made reference to this. We've made copies and distributed it to the legislatures, and I hope that you would have a chance to read some of the things that we've gathered for you. Your announcement was made on the 4th, and we have gone full court press, and it's only going to intensify based on the feeling that we're getting from the members of Floral Park. You can see here, we knocked the president off the front page of Newsday. He's practically, he's a sideline for a State of the Union address. Our little town of Floral Park, the safest place to live. Now that's pretty impressive. To your point about overcrowding, we utilize the street, we utilize the auditorium. I'm sure that school has quite enough to hold 2,000 people. But the fact is, people came out, they spoke, and they made themselves clear that they are against video slot casino in our town. And please, just consider the traffic. Mr. Nicolello, I know you know the area, and Mr. Muscarello, I know you know the area as well. Plainfield Avenue is not the place for this. These kids get out of school. I mean, you know, if somebody's gambling, they're drinking, they lose, they're on the street. Where are these kids? They're coming up from school at 3 o'clock, or worse yet, they're going to school. They're going to school at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. And if you have a bad night of gambling and you're drinking, it's not a good combination. And I have to tell you, even Hempstead Turnpike, it's downstate New York's worst road as it is right now. And you all know that we have a big problem. There's been so many accidents and deaths on Hempstead Turnpike. That's one of the things to solve. And I speak to the union. I mean, honestly, we are blue-collar workers. We understand everyone wants jobs. We do. It's not a question of saying, I don't understand your position. I'm not being adversarial, and I know I'm just addressing you. But there has to be a better solution to this. There has to be a place where we can get jobs and build something that means something. I mean, you are custodians. All of you are our custodians. You're to take care of this community and leave something for our children. So please, consider it. Consider the legacy you'll leave behind. A slot machine? I mean, you liken the gambling. I mean, horse race. It's different. It just is different. They've been around for 148 years. A thoroughbred horse is a lot different than a slot machine, and you can see from the kid's face when they see that. There's not the same. Anyway, it's a park. It's a residential park in the middle of a residential neighborhood. So please, thank you.
Chicago, ODDO. Where are you?
Okay, Susan. Good afternoon. I am a shift manager at OTB. I'm full-time. I've been working there for 19 years. And I am recording secretary for Local 707. Nassau County needs the VLTs. We need to have them have the jobs that they create. We need the revenue. And I've worked in the parlors for 19 years. We don't have crime and drinking, and we have regular blue-collar people, regular workers who sit there and want to just let loose for a little while and gamble on some horses. Belmont is a racetrack, there's gambling. Now, they all go to machines, put their bets in, and get their tickets.
This is not any different than going in and putting money in a slot machine. Same thing. You're betting on horses, you're betting on, whether you win in the slots. It's a job, it's generating a lot of jobs. Nassau needs this, they need the revenue. I go, to Mohegan Sun, I go to Aqueduct. I'd rather spend my money in Nassau County. Thank you.
Nancy, do I have the wrong name? I hope you're Nancy.
I am.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this opportunity. I'd like to pass my time on to Matthew Sexton.
Oh, okay. Matthew, I've gotten a lot of emails from you.
Thank you very much. It's unfortunate you didn't answer your phone last Wednesday when we called. First I'd like to address Nassau OTB with your sign saying you want your fair share. You've had a monopoly, and you cannot run your organization as a profit. You're $51 million below. Your community does not deserve a second chance at a proposed casino.
And GM.
And to the members of the majority, first I would like to thank Legislator Terry Solage for standing by the communities of Elma. And to you all in the majority, my grandfather fought World War II. He was a Republican. He was in Normandy, Battle of the Bulge. He passed that down to my mother. My mother was a Republican. I was a Republican because of the values that party used to instill. I'd like to let you know I'm no longer a Republican, and I will no longer be voting for you because of this proposed casino at Belmont Park. That being said, Legislator Muscarella, you represent my district and you're on the safety board. I've looked at the numbers of the 106th precinct where the Aqueduct Casino is located. DWIs, starting in 2012, first full year of the casino, up over 100%. Crimes against women within the neighborhood, up close to 50%. The reason being because police resources are dragged away from the community to the casino. So my question to you, Legislator Muscarella, why are you for this casino when you're on the safety board here for the County of Nassau? How can you
Mr. Sexton, will you please finish your statement?
I asked a question.
Yes, but I asked you earlier on.
My question was to Legislator Muscarella, what did he come up with stating the crime will not go up?
Mr. Sexton, listen to me. In the beginning of this session, I did say this was not going to be a question and answer period. We need to hear you. We do not want to have valuable time, and I have several others taken away from the community. So please finish your statement.
We tried specifically to hear from your office, but you wouldn't answer your phone. So if Legislator Muscarella could please answer that question.
No, he cannot answer that question because he's taken away valuable time from the rest of the people who are here waiting.
Well, then let me address the majority then. Your civic duty is to represent the residents of Nassau County.
Our job
It is not.
to listen to you.
Then please listen and stop cutting me off.
Finish off.
Your responsibility, civic duty, is to represent the people. It's not to represent the party that you're representing that also represents Nassau OTB. And gentlemen like my grandfather, who fought to make sure that this country was a great place, who passed those values down along to me, would be disgusted with the way the majority party is behaving right now. Right here, is a copy of the petition signed by over 2,000 people with the comments. At your convenience, since you don't seem to want to do anything when it comes to listening to us, please review it. It's now on the record.
Thank you very much. Did I say it right? And I'll tell you 23 years.
I give my time to Nadia Ortiz.
She's yelling at Nadia.
Hold on, we need to assist her. Nadia, hold on. There is a mic on the, no. There's a mic on the side. Nadia Ortiz, is it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Nadia. All right.
Thank you. Is this good?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Good afternoon. My name is Nadia Polifnici Ortiz, and I am a resident of the Incorporated Village of Floral Park. I am president of the Hillcrest Civic Association and am an organizer of the grassroots movement No Casino at Belmont Park. On December 29, 2015, NASA OTV announced its plans to install 1,000 video lottery terminals at Belmont Park in Elmont. By December 30th, our movement began the fight to oppose any and all plans by NASA OTV. The idea of facilitating year-round gambling, 20 hours a day, less than 1 mile from children at an elementary school and a high school is unconscionable. For every crime that occurs on the property of the casino during school hours, there is a risk that our children would have to be put on lockdown until the situation is deemed safe by local authorities. To expect Floral Park and surrounding communities to embrace the idea that video gambling would improve our neighborhood is insulting and disrespectful. We have allowed you to take pictures with our children to advance your political career. We voted you into office with the idea that we would be fairly represented in all matters regarding our safety and improving our quality of life through local government. We have been betrayed. Residents have come out over and over again in overwhelming numbers through a rally, online petition, emails, phone calls, postal mail, faxes, tweets, and Facebook posts to proclaim our very clear opposition to the NASA OTV plans. The opposition far outweighs the proponents, yet you turned a blind eye to us. This path of exhibited behavior can only lead one to believe that there must be backroom deals or agreements far more powerful than us. Ms. Gonzalez, Ms. Ford, Mr. Gaylor, Mr. Copel, Mr. Mascarella, Mr. Nicolello, Mr. Kennedy, Ms. Schaefer, Ms. June, Ms. Walker, Mr. McKenzie, and Mr. Rhodes. I would like to remind you of the definition of democracy because clearly it has fallen from your vocabulary. A democracy is a government by the people. That would be all of us sitting here. It is a form of government in which supreme power is vested in the people and exercised directly by them or by their elected agents. That would be you, through a system of representation. Clearly, democracy is not evidenced. Given the series of events that have played out thus far, perhaps we need to redefine the form of government that is actually taking place. Is it totalitarian? This is the political concept that the citizens should be totally subject to an absolute state authority. Or is it an oligarchy? A government in which control is exercised by a small group of individuals whose authority generally is based on wealth or power for corrupt and selfish purposes. You decide. And finally, presiding officer, I call on you to sign the resolution recommending that the legislature declare an emergency right now and immediately vote on the removal of the OTV board. I call on you
Presiding officer, may I? Presiding officer.
Hold on.
Presiding officer, I'm taking the opportunity to meet the speaker.
Excuse me, okay? There are many times in which I want you to speak and my colleagues also want you to speak. Right now, I'm listening to them out there. But at the same time, Mr. Muller, have we reached the hour?
We have 3 minutes on, so we have to 1:53, so we have 7 more minutes.
Okay, so we have...
With all due respect, presiding officer.
With all due respect, I'm not going to take it away. You want to speak after 5. I want to hear from them.
Well, I'll be allowed to speak as soon as the public comment is over.
After
Will I be
public
allowed to
comment
speak?
is office, that's another story.
That's another story.
Okay,
But
right now...
because she raised the resolution in which I submitted asking for emergency to be considered, I'm asking you, presiding officer, Madam Presiding Officer, I'm respectfully asking that you consider the piece of legislation that I submitted. And if you do not, then I ask all of the colleagues of the legislature to take an up or down vote.
Do it. Do it. Do it.
same piece of
Legislative
legislation, the same piece of legislation.
You want true colors, do it.
Your Honor, if
Okay. You
presiding
know the
officer, if you're
process.
saying that
Do
I'm
you
out
have
of order,
13 signatures
then
to go for an
then the
emergency?
charter under section
I'm
6
sorry, don't get me
of
started.
1A
You're
allows
asking
me,
for
Your
an
Honor,
emergency, and I
presiding
don't want to
officer,
take away.
to
I will defend
ask
this
for an up and down
as-
vote on
Do
this
it.
legislation. Very similar to the piece of legislation submitted by Silvino, in which Laura Schaefer
Do it.
support.
True colors, let's go. Let's go. Do it. We want to see true colors.
Supporting this, and I believe that we have 3 other persons that would support it, just as Laura Schaefer supported.
Do it.
Legislative board wanted to comment, I wanted to comment, and so did the others, and I did not take away
Presiding
time.
officer, I have taken the
I'm sorry,
liberty
you need 13
of submitting
signatures
this
and you don't
legislation.
have it.
And in addition, Your Honor, presiding officer,
Legislation is
You
criminal.
don't have the votes to establish the emergency.
We want to see what you have to say.
Democracy works!
presiding officer, you have to take a vote. Again, we have 7 people here, as well as Laura Schaefer, who signed on to support the OTP removal when it happened with Carl Place in Westbury. I see no reason why she would not support it here. We have also Legislator Mascarella, Legislator Nicolau, who have many constituents here.
We want to see your true colors, let's go. We want to see your true colors. I want to see it.
You have the power and the discretion, and I know in your heart you can do that, presiding officer.
Yeah! 2 more speakers, and after that, we will go into the calendar. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, there's no devious plan on our part. It takes 13 votes.
Real.
Or 13, excuse me, 13 signatures
No.
in order to
Presiding
advance.
officer.
Excuse me, I have the floor.
We vote you, you know.
The law says
You
10.
don't know the process.
The law says 10. The law says 10.
Maybe I haven't been here long enough.
I will not resort to personal attacks here.
Cowards.
As a duly elected legislator, I'm operating by virtue of the county charter that allows me to introduce legislation that if you do not consider, then I can ask for an up and down vote.
Now we have one more.
Up and down vote, yes.
This is Rita Sanford. Okay, now I will have.
Can we make a motion?
No, she has the floor.
I would much rather have you vote.
It'll take less than 3 minutes.
There were 2 hours and 3 buses this morning from North Valley Stream. I live with the occasional already traffic of people who bail off the Cross Island Parkway on a regular day, not when it's going to be a daily race day, bail from the Cross Island. And my last visit here was on the bus line cuts, and at that time, I had an immediate reaction to Legislator Nicolello's response to Mayor Tweedy of Borough Park. He opined that the majority of those using these addictive terminals, well, he didn't use the word addictive, I am, would be older women. You threw that out.
Yeah.
As an older woman,
Classic.
who doesn't? I have to object to the idea of it being considered acceptable by Nassau County to exploit older women and men, as well as younger people, with addictions in the name of generating revenue that apparently in itself to Nassau County is questionable. Along with the evidence of decreasing revenue at other venues, I've been rather shocked to learn about the deleterious effects of these machines. They're not gambling. It's not like you go to a race and you have a little respite time to get the endorphins to go away when you've lost your money or whatever. It's sitting in front of a machine with a card in it and just going and going and going. All gambling is not just gambling, nor should our quality of life be less important than a patronage jobs program and even a building jobs program. Nassau County public policy shouldn't be trying to facilitate the addictive diseases of gambling, especially using machines believed to be deliberately addictive. I found that shocking, that the machines are set up to take more and more and more of your money, and the related addictions of alcohol and smoking. So it's a horrible public policy for us to be setting in our name and in our communities. And if you don't stop this foolhardy, selfish proposal, I think you are obligated to announce in advance your commitment and the amounts of increased funding that you are going to commit to the human services programs that are already here, struggling with insufficient funding to help people, serve people with addictions. Thank you.
Comment is now over. And I'm going to explain something to you, if you're willing to listen. And obviously, some of you are not. If I can advance legislation, if I have the votes in which to do, an emergency resolution that has been proposed by Legislator Salages requires 13 signatures in order to advance it as an emergency resolution. It does not have 13 signatures, therefore it's not being advanced. Thank you very much.
Then sign it now! Stand up and sign it now! Those of you who are representing us.
You're cowards!
To my understanding, it requires 10 votes, and in addition, I would inquire why it did not pass.
Because there is no 10 votes.
To my understanding, a formal proxy or any sort of vote has not been
I'm
done.
not going to
Can you please
enter
take
into a
that?
debate with you, Mr. Salages. I will simply tell you that to advance an emergency resolution requires 13 signatures. We don't have it.
Presiding
And you don't
officer,
have to.
respectfully, I renew my motion for you to consider a resolution for an emergency.
No.
You can recommend an emergency yourself with your discretion.
First of all, I apologize. I still have several people who have submitted slips, and if you would like to stay until the end of the legislative session, I'm willing to continue the public comment. As I said earlier, I have about, I would say, maybe 10 more individuals. I did get through a number, but I cannot get to these until after the full legislative session. And therefore, let me say something to you. Listen to me and listen to me carefully. This is not over for you. But either both sides of the chamber today. There are things that need to be done before it becomes what you are fearful of or what you want. I'm telling you right now, the process has not yet begun. So I'm going to say that hang in there, voice your concern, and I think you need to voice them to the proper authority, which is not us, but to the New York State Gaming Commission.
It's you!
Every time we call the gaming commission, they tell us to come here.
Rather than extending the fear and anxiety, I ask respectfully to end the issue here. You can decide to do so.
End it now.
Presiding officer, by asking for a clear up or down vote on this issue. Therefore, no vote has been made. The public has every right to know how we stand on this issue.
I'm sorry.
We want to see your true colors.
Going to the full legislature now, okay? That's it, okay? You can argue all you want, and let me tell you something. This has been ongoing for years, and it's very strange that when a full-service casino was contemplated for Belmont, I didn't hear any clamor from Nassau County, all right? And that goes back to 2011, people. All right?
Up and down. Don't get confused. We know you're for it.
A chance to move on. Those of you who want to stay, please do. Okay? And let's go.